Hey YouTubers, that's MJ.
Sorry.
And I'm Mark, and he always interrupts me. But guys, we're going to be talking today. This is a new series on my channel where we're talking about not necessarily power scaling, not necessarily anything like that. We take, a couple people or maybe just one person versus another person in Dragon Ball, and we talk about not only who's going to win in a fight, but also what it could possibly mean for the story if they were to fight, and what would be the outcome, and what would be the character growth, and anything like that. Because one of the things from Dragon Ball, and I think this is pretty, this is one of those things that we've seen throughout all of Dragon Ball. It's happened in all shonen mangas. Is the only way people basically learn or grow or have any real character development is from punching each other in the face. So that's how the story moves along, especially for Dragon Ball Super. So it's really fun to talk about basically who's gonna fight who, and whatever theory we can come up with, and probably what would happen in that particular fight, what it would mean for the story, and what it would mean for the characters. So if you haven't yet, and before I get his opinion on this, I want everyone to go down to the description section below and hit that link to see one of MJ's newest videos about like mark out moments, something he wants to see from Hit in the universe, I guess the Tournament of Power. And guys, awesome. This is just, it's so freaking cool, and I'm actually jumping off of that. So before I actually start talking, I want everyone to go watch that video because you won't know what I'm talking about. But I'm thinking that a lot of people are basically coming into this tournament are just basically saying, look, Hit's gonna get taken out really easily by Jiren. It's gonna be an epic fight, but Hit's going to be taken out, and then obviously we're going to have Jiren be the big bad of the arc because that's what they've been setting up this entire time. But Hit, who is probably one of the coolest characters ever introduced in Dragon Ball, if you ask me. I know I'm a Hit fanboy for all of you guys, but it's whatever. Hit's going to be taken out just to show just how strong Jiren is, and I say nay. I say nay, because a lot of people think, well, maybe he won't be able to use his technique. I also say nay. MJ does as well. I definitely think that if they bring up Hit, it would be interesting to have him lose, but to have him lose because he's not fighting just Jiren, but he's fighting Jiren and Toppo, who tag team against him to take him out, because they know how much of a threat he is. So before I share my opinion, I want MJ to basically say whatever he's thinking, because he has some really interesting thoughts about these particular characters and their relation with Hit and what they might know about Hit.
Well, if we're bouncing off my video, that's the thing here, is that Hit does something really epic in the beginning of the tournament, and I guess like an epic entrance. Let's just say that, right? He has an epic entrance, and then all of a sudden, Toppo and Jiren are just like, so that's him, right? And Jiren's like, yep. And they're like, okay, we got him. That, like, I'm actually going to try and say it and how it would be in Japanese. Like, I could just picture the voices, like the voice actors. Please don't kill me down below in the comment section, guys. Just give me a break here. I could just picture them going, Hito-san, you know what I mean? And then Toppo's like, we got him, you know what I mean? Kind of like in that deep fucking manly ass voice he has. It would be so cool, and that would get me hyped up, dude. Like, just for them to say, oh, that's Hit, that's him, right, the legendary assassin, and they're like, okay, let's do this, right? Toppo supposedly is a very good friend of Jiren. He's also a member of the Pride Troopers, and I just imagine they would have some cool tag team moves, so it would just make sense for it to be Toppo and Jiren, since they seem to be the strongest of the Pride Troopers, to go up against the legendary assassin himself, the man that's been fucking for the last 1,000 years. It would be cool to see that, happen. But yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you've mentioned off air before, and I just this marks me out, guys. It's like, this is something that if it were to be true, I think I would lose my shit. MJ has said multiple times off air to me, is his idea, is like, what if, because like whenever the Toppo came down, is like, I'm a Pride Trooper and blah blah blah, and everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? And if you want to know why I think no one knows who the Pride Troopers are, I don't know when it's coming up, but Geekdom and I did a video about that and where I think they came from, and all that. So but I won't spoil it here. I definitely think that one of the things is, like, they know who Hit is, because Beerus and Champa both knew who Hit was going into the last tournament, the tournament Universe 6 versus Universe 7. And what MJ's been saying this whole time is, wouldn't it be interesting if all the other universes know who basically Hit is? Like, his reputation precedes him through the multiverse. And I just think that is such an epic idea. So when it comes to the fact that Jiren and Toppo are basically sitting there going, so that's him. It's like, yeah, that's him. It's like, oh my God.
It would be dope, because even though we know Toppo's, and I forgot what episode it was, but remember he went to that bar and he was having a drink and he was having flashbacks like Goku, like doing the Kaioken. He may be suffering from some minor form of PTSD, I'm assuming, but other than that, I'm pretty sure, I think in Toppo's head, he's kind of got the idea cemented that Jiren can take out Goku. I think so. Maybe they'll go into the tournament not too worried about Universe 7 and Goku. So the idea that they see Hit have this epic entrance, again bouncing off my video, they're gonna go, okay, that's him, and that's what's gonna start it off. Like, I think Jiren and Toppo will give the orders like to the other Pride Troopers and say, you know, take care of this, 2 of you over there, 2 of you over here, you know what I mean? Like, and then they'll just go straight in. Like, I'm not too sure if you guys have seen like the recent episode of Super where Goku fought Gohan, but there's certain like camera angles and choreography that you can do where you can kind of like show them approaching him, you know? And I think that would be so cool for like Jiren and Toppo to just take off, and you have the camera zoom in on Hit, and then Hit's like just with his hands in his pocket, he takes him out because he knows this means business, dude. He takes his hands out and he's like, okay. And that's where we get this epic tag team fight. But I'll let you talk about how you actually wanted to go down and like the different choreography and stuff. But I think that would be a great way to start that fight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think that would be, and like keep mentioning, I just want people to really go see that video, because I was marking out when you were talking about that intro. But so yeah, I agree with you. He kind of comes down and they're like, you know, your reputation precedes you. We know about you. You know, we're in this whole other universe, but we know about the legendary, almost immortal like assassin Hit and all of these situations. But what I would really like to see, because you know, you're sitting there, you're talking about what's been happening with Toppo recently and how he's basically remembering Goku, right? So one thing you have is Jiren might be really cocky, but because they all know who Hit is, you know, in this kind of theoretical landscape that we're creating. None of this might be true at all, but just because they might know who Hit is, it would be really interesting, and probably one of the cool things about this tournament, how this would play into the story, is if Jiren's just like, yeah, I'll take him out. Like, he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about the reputation. He doesn't care about the technique. He doesn't care about anything. He's just headstrong. Like, he's not even like, because one of the things like that's common for main villains of Dragon Ball is that they don't necessarily have, they're overconfident as much as Goku is overconfident about their technique and everything like that. So Jiren's one of those people. He's not cautious at all. And that's where Toppo comes in. Toppo is cautious because he's actually fought Goku before. And while you said like he might think that Jiren can easily take out Goku, he might not believe Jiren could easily take out Hit. So Jiren gets into his, you know, the epic fight that we're all hoping is going to happen at some point is Jiren versus Hit, right? And they're fighting and they're almost equally matched. And the only reason Jiren gets an upper hand in the fight is because Toppo steps in. And he steps in and he, you know, puts Hit off of like whatever focus he's on, because, you know, it's like the Vegeta distracting Cell just long enough for Gohan to take over type of thing, where he's just completely not expecting what's going to happen. It allows Jiren to have the upper hand and take out Hit. That would be perfect for the story, because you show just how strong Hit is. Like, this guy is on par, if not stronger than Hit, especially with his confidence, where he's like, because after that they would have this like interaction between the two of them, basically being like, why did you help me? Like, you weren't supposed to help me. I had him. Like, he was weak or something, but like he might not have been that much weaker. So you don't necessarily ruin Hit's character immediately. He's not that much weaker than Jiren, but also you start showing, at least story-wise, the friction between the Pride Troopers, which is important for this entire story, this entire arc, because they have set Goku up to be the villain, and they've set the Pride Troopers up to be basically the people who are going to destroy the villain. We need to start seeing as an audience, and all the other universes need to start seeing as an audience the friction between these guys and how they interact, and how they might not necessarily be as copacetic as we all imagine them being the first time we saw them. And and showing the divide between them. And in fact, maybe even using this divide or whatever thing that Jiren does to basically demean Toppo for actually helping him, it ends up being his downfall later, especially in a situation like this where they've been focusing on strategy, teamwork. Don't do it all yourself. You can't win it yourself. And Jiren ends up basically losing it for his entire team because he's not willing to work as a team like that. I mean, we've seen them fight, and he's off on his own, basically doing everything, like, meditating and everything like that. So I think that would be something interesting to see, honestly.
I just want to say this because I know you mentioned this ain't supposed to be a power scaling video, but I know there's going to be people talking down below. How can Hit even put up some sort of fight against both Jiren and Toppo if Goku had to use Kaioken on just Toppo? You guys got to remember this. Even though Hit was said not to really take his stuff seriously before the Universe 6 tournament, after meeting Goku, it seems like Hit does seem to train. Because after he fought Goku, moving to episode 72, I believe, or 71, where he meets Goku again in that little mini assassination arc, Goku stated Hit had got a lot stronger, and on top of that, Hit was so powerful that one, sledgehammer hit, just one double hand hit, knocked Goku out of his blue form. That's how strong Hit had become, and Goku was like, oh man, I'm scared right now. Goku couldn't even know if a full power Kamehameha could even beat Hit, and it didn't even really beat Hit that much. They just kind of stalemated, and Hit got up and just left. Now, with that being said, remember, there's one key thing you have to remember here. In that episode, what happened earlier? Bulma hit Goku with the car, and when she came out, she was skinny. So months passed since then to when, the unit started this arc, because remember, Bulma was big and she had Brawl. So months passed. So again, Hit could be training or whatever he's doing. So Hit could even be potentially stronger in this tournament than what he was when we saw him in episode 71, and even stronger than what he was in the Universe 6 arc. So that's a big deal. So I completely agree that, if they want to make Hit look really good, you have Jiren and Toppo actually go at him, or just have Jiren be equally matched with them. And the only reason he gets the upper hand, like you mentioned, is because of Toppo. Now, I do agree with you. We do need to see friction, but we still got to think about this. Toppo does call Jiren his dear friend, so maybe they've known each other before the Pride Troopers. So maybe out of all the Pride Troopers, they have the best combination of techniques, the best tag team. So it would make sense that the two strongest, the two guys who have the most chemistry, would be the ones to take out Hit. You know what I mean? And that makes Hit look manly as fuck. Hit's probably if that were to happen, I could hear Danny say, man, after watching that episode, I grew hair on my nuts, because Hit's standing alone by himself, taking on these two motherfuckers who are just freaking gods here, and he's just there doing all he can to stay in it, That's badass. I mean, I don't even know what else to say about that. Just having that fight in general is a mark out moment, I think Jiren and Hit in itself is mark out, but then you have Toppo come in and actually be the one that is I guess the one that helped Jiren take out Hit. That just proves how much of a monster Hit is, and just how much Universe 11 had to put in just to take this guy out, and plus, just going forward from that, Hit can still be Goku's rival, because it doesn't make Hit look that bad, Goku's probably gonna fight Jiren by himself. Well, Hit fought fucking Toppo and Jiren. You know what I mean? So it's again, it makes Hit still look good. You can still bring him back in future arcs, because yes, guys, I do not believe Super's ending anytime soon. So you can bring Hit back in any future arcs, and he's still just as much of a threat, and he's still just as much of a rival to Goku as he was before the tournament.
I definitely think that that's something I'd like to see, whether they're fighting him together or whether Toppo comes in because he's a little bit more cautious than Jiren, and then you start seeing the whatever friction between them. Even though they're friends, we don't necessarily know how they interact with each other when it comes to maybe Toppo. We don't know much about him. Maybe he likes a good fight like everyone else does, who's a big bad in this entire series. So or a big bad badass always likes a good fight, and it does seem really, really apparent that Toppo out of both of them probably is the most cautious, or the more cautious of the two. So he might be afraid of what it would mean if Jiren basically lost to someone like Hit, and maybe
he is a team leader, so it wouldn't make sense for him to be I gotta keep my team intact. Jiren told me to stay out of it, but he's the one who needs my help right now because he's fighting the legendary assassin. I need to go over there. Yeah,
so. Exactly, and so you don't necessarily take away Hit's role in the series. You don't necessarily take away any of his accomplishments. You put Jiren on that level, and you show exactly, like, you might show like the beginnings of the downfall or even the sway from Universe 7 to Universe 7 with that particular fight. So I feel like that does a lot. If it were to play out like this, it would do a hell of a lot for not only like all three characters involved and also the majority of the tournament. Like it would plant those seeds, if you will.
And the outside characters too, like Goku and Vegeta, they'll still see Hit as a threat, you know?
Yeah. So nothing would be necessarily lost, and I think there's a whole lot to gain from seeing something that plays out almost exactly like this. So guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like the idea? Do you think that we're way overthinking this? Do you want to see it go a little bit different? Do you want Hit to basically just get taken out immediately? You don't care about, you know, his integrity as a fighter or anything like that? And anything else that y'all want to talk about in the comment section below. Like I said, these aren't necessarily power scaling videos. We are literally looking at it in terms of story. That's what we do here. That's the only thing you're going to get from me. I'm not power scaling anything. I want to see how characters interact and what that means for the overall story of Dragon Ball Super. So like I said, thank you for watching. Thank you for, you know, sharing your thoughts and opinions. And thank you to MJ for coming in, being a sport and sharing all of his awesome ideas, letting me jump off a lot of his really awesome ideas for this tournament arc. And like I said, please make sure to go down to the description below and check out that series that he has going on, Mark Out Moments, every Saturday, because it's really awesome. He has some really cool ideas if you want to see that. But anyway, we're going to catch you on the next video. Bye.